Hey, what's up traders? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be exploring ChatGPT again. So in a previous video, about a year ago, I showed you guys what ChatGPT 3 was capable of with Pine Script. And let's just say it was not good. It was pretty appalling. But ChatGPT 4, the premium version of ChatGPT, the latest version, is a different story. So let's have a look at that today. I think you guys are going to find the results pretty interesting. I know I did. Alright, so the plan for today is to let ChatGPT write all of the code. I might do some editing here and there just to tweak the script, but the whole script, the foundation of the script, is going to be written purely by ChatGPT based on prompts that I give it, questions I ask it. So to do that, I'm going to be using a book, my favorite book, one of my favorite books on trading. I threw out the jacket cover, so you'll have to deal with the spine there. It's called Unholy Grails, A New Road to Wealth by Nick Raj. Now, my version of the book is pretty knackered because I've read it through several times. I've even got it signed. Look at that. How exciting. And in today's video, we are going to be focusing on two systems in this book to start with. Maybe I'll revisit this series in the future if you guys are really interested in it. But for today, we'll keep it simple. We'll keep the video as short as possible and stick to two systems in this book. The thing I like about this book is that these systems are purely systematic, rules-based. No subjectivity, no discretion. They're literally just black and white rules. You tell the system what to do and the system does it with no input from you other than parameter tweaking. So that's why I'm using this book, because with computers, when it comes to telling it what to do, simple is better, obviously. And ChatGPT has come a long way, but it's still got some limitations. So the more concise we can be in our commands, the better. So to start with, I've bookmarked a couple of systems here. And by the way, if you haven't read this book, if you don't have a copy of this book, you need to get a copy. I'll leave it in the pinned comment below, a link to it. It's a fantastic book. It really is. It's a must read for any serious systematic trader. The main system, which we'll cover in a moment, the Bollinger Breakout strategy. I can't angle this to the camera. the Bollinger Breakout strategy, which is hard to see there, but you'll see it in a moment on the charts when I tell ChatGPT to write the scripts. It's a very simple system. It's quite old now, but it still stands up. So it's pretty robust to this day. I did some testing on it yesterday through real test on a portfolio-based level. So trading thousands of stocks with a 20 position portfolio, and it still does pretty good. So we'll stick with that to start with. Let me outline the rules. So the whole concept of this system is, I'll throw it on the charts real quick, just so that we can see what we're doing. All right, so the book outlines, this is a daily chart system long only for equities. So let's have a look at this market real quick. The book outlines that the Bollinger Band must be based on a 100 period SMA, and it uses two different standard deviations. So for the upper band, we're using a 3 standard deviation. If price closes above this upper band, we buy. For our stop loss / trailing stop, we use 1 standard deviation from the low, from the middle moving average, the base anchor point for the Bollinger Band. So if price closes below this band, we exit any open positions. It's a trend following system, essentially. And it's very simple. Those are the only rules, literally. It gets a little more complicated later on as we build on it. So we'll add a regime filter. And in the book, it's based on a portfolio of stocks instead of a single market system. So you would trade, in the book, it says 20 different positions, 20 different stocks at a time. For today, because TradingView is incapable currently of doing portfolio-based testing, we're just going to cycle through some systems and just see what ChatGPT is capable of. That's the main point of this video. It is not investment advice. It's not trading advice. Do not get your trading advice from ChatGPT. Do not rely blindly on ChatGPT's code to trade. It's a very, very bad idea, as I'll show you later in the video. Examples of why that's the case. But ChatGPT has come a long way, and it's a very, very valuable tool for us as programmers and traders. So let's get into today's video by converting this initial Bollinger Breakout system into Pine Script using ChatGPT. Now, as mentioned, this is ChatGPT 4, the premium paid version of ChatGPT. Currently, it's, I think, $20 a month to get access to this. It is worth it compared to ChatGPT 3, especially for Pine Script. That's because ChatGPT 3 is only trained up to 2022, I believe, internet information, and so it's outdated. It doesn't have the latest Pine Script syntax. It's trained back on Pine Script version 4 syntax. However, ChatGPT 4 is trained on old version 5 syntax. It's not up to date currently, and there are a lot of new features it's not aware of, but it is aware of the base syntax for the latest version of Pine Script, so we can get some decent scripts out of this. So first of all, I'm going to start with a prompt, a simple prompt. I want you to write a script for me in Pine Script version 5 syntax for the TradingView platform. Can you do that for me? All right, so it said absolutely, I can help with that. It knows what we want. Now we just need to feed it the information, the parameters of the script. I've written these prompts out in advance to save time in just Notepad, and I'm just copy and pasting them in, but I'll read them to you as I go. I want you to write a strategy script. The system is long only, trades the daily chart, and does not use margin. The rules are as follows. 1. Enter long if the market closes above its upper Bollinger Band set to a 100 period moving average for the band and 3 standard deviations. 2. Exit the entire position if the market closes below the Bollinger Band's lower band, also set to a 100 period moving average for the band and 1 standard deviation. Let's see what it does. Here we go. This script is for educational purposes and should be tested thoroughly before any live trading. Good advice. It's doing the disclaimer for me. So far, looks okay. It's not a perfect script. I don't need to hear it tell me how to do this. Let's just copy this code, or you can click up here, copy code, jump over to my charts, paste it in. Now, I've just pasted this in completely from the ChatGPT code box. Let's save the script, see if it works. Cannot compile script. That's a good start. Okay, strategy.exit must have at least one of the following parameters. Okay, so not a great start for ChatGPT 4, I have to admit. I don't think we need this line of code at all, because we have this exit clause here, this exit condition, so it doesn't need a strategy.exit function. There we go. Perfect. Not bad. 500% return on this stuff with a 90% drawdown. Meaningless on a single market. But the script, let's get rid of my Bollinger Band there. The script appears to be working. I did have to modify it slightly there. I had to remove that redundant piece of code at the end, this strategy.exit. Now, before I started recording this video, I did ask it these questions already because I wanted to make sure I wasn't wasting my time, and I wanted to be prepared in advance for anything that it throws at me. And I have to admit, the first time I asked it, this exact prompt, it did spit out a script that worked without any editing. So I don't know why the second time it included this erroneous line of code, but that's the catch with ChatGPT. It's a valuable tool, but it's not very consistent at times. But anyway, this script is doing what it's intended to do. We're not displaying the central moving average, so let's go back and ask it to do that. Can you add the central moving average to this script as a plot? I'll fast forward all this. For some reason, it takes a long time to print this stuff. I don't know why it doesn't just print it out immediately. It still included the erroneous line of code. That's okay. Let's copy that, paste it in, remove that line of code, save the script. There we go. There's our 100 SMA. Let's add on a Bollinger Band really quick, just to make sure that this is in fact drawing the correct indicator values. So we need a 100 period with a 3 standard deviation. Looks good. Remember, the lower band is 1 standard deviation, so that's going to be off here. We set that to 1. Now it matches the bottom band. It's working. So, pretty cool, pretty powerful stuff. I didn't have to write a single line of code there. In fact, I had to remove code to get this script to work. So pretty interesting stuff. ChatGPT is coming a long way when it comes to Pine Script, at least, and coding in general. I have to admit, I work on a few hobby projects in my spare time, some gaming stuff, making games, working on modding existing games just for fun. A lot of nerdy coding stuff. And I use ChatGPT all the time to assist me in stuff that I don't understand. For example, 3D vector math, completely outside my pay grade. But if I need to ask it to do something in 3D space, sometimes it will just give me a formula that I can plug into my code and it just works. And I don't understand why it works, but it works. So that's really cool. This is a very powerful tool that is going to be invaluable in the future. And if you're not learning and playing around with these language models, you're missing out. You really are. This is the future in terms of another tool in our tool belt. I remember when I started coding, I used Notepad, literally just Microsoft Notepad. Back in 2005, I think, is when I started to write my first code, maybe even sooner than that. And autocomplete was not a thing. Typing in something like strategy dot and then having this list of functions contained within the strategy library, that didn't exist back when I started coding. At least it wasn't easy. It wasn't inbuilt into every coding editor ever. So much of coding writes itself nowadays. It's amazing. It really is. We are so blessed to be living in a time where these features exist, and ChatGPT is going to take that to the next level. Well, not ChatGPT specifically, but AI language models are going to integrate with coding platforms in the future. There's no doubt. And we will be able to do things like ask it to spit out a template for a specific purpose, and it won't be perfect all the time, but this is pretty close. Now, none of these parameters are user inputs. We could ask ChatGPT, let's say, can you make the system parameters user inputs? See what it does. All right, still included this line of code at the end. I don't know why it's doing that, but anyway, that's fine. Let's paste this in, get rid of that last line of code, save it, and check the settings menu. Let's change it. 50 period moving average. It works. Very cool. Very cool. Change our standard deviation to 2. Works. Amazing. Very cool stuff. Again, I haven't written a single line of code here. I've just asked ChatGPT to write it for me, and it's done a decent job, I have to admit. It's not perfect, but it's decent. Even the formatting is impressive. The commenting, I mean, this is the exact structure that I would normally use. I normally put my plots at the very end of the script, but hey, that's just nitpicking. I mean, this is formatted well. The descriptions are good, very good, a little bit too verbose, if you ask me, a bit too detailed. But everything here is spot on to what I wanted. So that's very impressive. All right, so in the book, there's one more feature of this Bollinger Band breakout system, which is a regime filter. A regime filter is where you reference an external market. So in this case, we're trading stocks. So let's go to something like Apple. If we were trading Apple or a US market, a regime filter in that context would be like a trend filter, keeping you out of bear markets. So we don't want to be buying markets during the 2008 financial crisis, for example, or during COVID sell-off. And a regime filter keeps us out of trouble by overlaying a 200 period index filter over the system. So let's ask ChatGPT if it can add that into this script. All right, so here's my prompt. Okay, now I need to improve that script. I need to add what is called a regime filter. This filter will only take trades if the S&P 500's daily price is trading above the S&P 500's 200 period moving average. A lot of numbers there. Can you add that filter to this script? Let's see what the robot does. To integrate a regime filter based on the S&P 500's daily price being above its 200 period moving average, we need to use TradingView security function, correct? In this example, I'll assume the ticker symbol is SPX, but ensure that you're using the exact symbol used on your data provider, correct? Good advice. This updated script will include the regime filter logic. The script will only enter trades when the condition of the S&P 500's trading above its 200 period moving average is met. Perfect. Let's see if it works. Oh, it's not done yet. Still included that erroneous line of code. I could probably tell it to stop doing this, but I won't bother. It's easy to remove. Let's have a look at our regime filter code. All right, so we're getting the daily close using the security function on the S&P 500 symbol, which is a user input. That's good, very good. 200 SMA on S&P's close on the daily chart. Regime filter, spot on. Let's see if this script compiles. There we go. It appears to have worked. What's this line here? Oh, these are drawing tools. Let me remove them. Okay. All right. So I can't turn the regime filter on or off. Let's quickly ask it if it can make. Can you make? Whoops. Whoa. Can you make the regime filter a user input? I'll fast forward this bit. Certainly, I'll adjust the script. I like how it just tirelessly does what you say. That's kind of nice, I have to admit. All right, let's paste this code in, see if it works. Oh, again, we've got this line of code at the end. Let's get rid of that. So as you can see, ChatGPT, not perfect, but pretty good. All right, so let's see what happens when we turn our regime filter off. All right, we get a much bigger return on Apple. Let's turn it back on and keep an eye on the drawdown. The point of a regime filter is more to limit drawdown. It's a risk management tool more than a profit maximization tool. So let's turn that on, see what happens. Oh, it didn't change the drawdown at all. Interesting. Let's try Tesla. Let's see what happens when we turn it off on Tesla. Still no difference. It only took 6 trades on Tesla anyway. I don't know, what's the stock we could test it on? Let's try JP Morgan. All right, so it is working because when I turn it off, the stats here change. It's just rarely coming into effect, it seems. Again, these are single market tests. In an actual portfolio-based test, a regime filter has a big effect. Because you're trading so many stocks, so many markets, it does limit the amount of trades that are taken in non-ideal circumstances. So anyway, this first script is a success. We have successfully converted the Bollinger Breakout strategy or system from Unholy Grails, the book, based on the original rules, and it's working. This is exactly what I expect. We're buying breakouts above this upper band. We are selling closes below the lower band. That's exactly what the system was intended to do. Successful test right there. Very impressive. ChatGPT 3 would not have been able to do this. Or it might have been, but it would have been in version 4 syntax and would have required some editing and modification, which goes against the whole purpose of using this tool. So before we wrap up this video, let's do one more system out of the book. So the system I chose to do is called a moving average channel system. The MAC is created using 2 moving averages. The first is a 10-period moving average of the daily highs, as opposed to closing prices, which we usually use a moving average on. And then next, it uses a 8-period moving average on the lows of price action as its stop loss. The book goes into more detail here. Again, if you haven't read it, you really need to get your hands on it. But basically the rule here is we have a 10-period SMA based on, let me get my drawing tool out and I'll hide the script. We're going to have a 10-period SMA based on candle highs and an 8-period based on candle lows, and that'll give us a channel. And the system is we need 5 candles that print entirely above the upper band. So the low of these bars must be above the upper band, all 5 of them consecutively, before we buy. And then it's the same for sell signal. We need 5 bars closing below the lower band where all of its highs are well below the band. We can't touch the band. If we touch the band, our counter resets. And that's the system. It's very simple. So let's ask ChatGPT if it can make a script based on these rules. Okay, so here is my prompt. All right, now I want you to write a brand new strategy script unrelated to the last. The system is long only, trades the daily chart, and does not use margin. The rules are as follows. Plot a 10-period upper moving average based on candle highs and an 8-period lower moving average based on candle lows. Enter long if 5 consecutive bars print higher than the upper moving average. If a bar touches the upper moving average, reset the counter. We need 5 bars to print with their low entirely above the upper MA. I'll say same for the lower MA, but the highs must be below it. And then number 4, exit position if 5 consecutive bars print lower than the lower moving average. Let's see what ChatGPT can do with this prompt. Here's a Pine Script strategy for TradingView that implements your moving average channel strategy. The script is structured to follow the specific rules you've outlined, focusing on a long-only system that trades on the daily chart without using margin. The script includes conditions for entering and exiting positions based on the relationship of consecutive bars to the moving averages of candle highs and lows. All right, there's our script. It looks a bit better than the first one in terms of not including erroneous lines of code, at first glance at least. Let's see how it stands up in the editor. Save the script. it seems to have worked. I mean, this is a pretty simple system, so I'm not surprised this one worked. Sweet. Okay, so we have our parameters. They're not user inputs, but that's fine. That's easy to fix. We have a 10-period upper and 8-period lower MA length. We're getting the SMAs. We're plotting them. We're counting how many bars printed above or below the corresponding moving average. And if we have our consecutive 5-bar print, we enter our trade. So let's have a quick look at how this works. So let's go to a different market. All right, this looks like a good trade to examine. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars that printed above the upper band. We open a trade on the next bar's open. That meets the rules. We don't have 5 bars in a row that print below any of these moving averages, the lower band, until here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess that would be pretty close, this bar here, since it doesn't have a wick. It did, even though the moving average crosses over the corner, I think we'll find that the opening price was below that band. So we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive bars below the band, and we exit on the next bar's open. So there you go. Wow. I'm gonna guess that this stayed in a trade for a very long time. Let's zoom out and see if we can find that trade. Yeah, okay. There's been a few of them actually. Quite a few of them. So this is data mining at this stage. This system would not perform this well on most markets. It just so happens to have performed really well on Apple because it's bought a lot of these monster rallies and stayed in them for a very long time. That's not going to work on most markets, but very interesting. It worked. That's the takeaway. ChatGPT did successfully write this script. Feel free to adjust the script. Oh, that's very kind of it. It gives us permission to adjust its script or ask for additional features. Okay, on that note, let's get back to the book. An interesting note in the book here, if I find the page, is here Nick says, if a fault had to be identified with this system, it would be that the exit mechanism is based on a pattern sequence. So what he means by that is a candlestick pattern sequence. The reason that's a fault or a risk in this system is because candle patterns aren't guaranteed to ever appear on a chart. You could go months without this condition being met, a 5-bar consecutive low. For the entry, it's not a big deal, because for an entry, we're not in a trade. The entry can be as complex as we want, really. To a degree, there's a balance there. If it's too complicated, it won't take any trades, or not enough trades. And if it's not complicated enough, it'll take too many trades. This particular system's entry criteria is okay, in my opinion, and I think Nick's as well. It's not particularly complicated, but it will filter out a lot of trades, so that's not a bad thing. But the exit is a risk because, let's have a look. In the example here, Nick points out AGL Energy, which is an Aussie stock, between April 2010 and April 2021. 2011. So let's go to AGL on the ASX and go back to 2010. And I'll show you what he points out in the book. Here is the trading question. So in the book, this book was published back in 2012. So quite a while ago now. But these systems, some of them at least, the Bollinger Band system, for example, does stand up to this day. It's not amazing. It needs tweaking probably, but these systems are quite robust, which is what I love about Nick's work. Now, what's wrong with this trade? Let's zoom out the chart and see if you can guess. What's wrong with this trade here that we opened? Well, it stayed in a trade for nearly 3 years before it closed for a loss. So we held a trade for 3 years nearly, and took a 3% loss on that position. That's pretty nasty. Now, 3% loss, not a big deal. Tying up your capital for 3 years in a trade that goes nowhere, bad, very bad trader. That's bad opportunity cost right there. And so the book proposes a solution for that, which is a 25% roughly. It lands on a 25% trailing stop from the high. So the highest price after entering a trade, if the stock falls 25%, which is a long fall, we exit the trade. That's just an example. There are plenty of other examples. We could have a time-based stop. If you're in the trade for longer than X amount of days, get out of it. We could tweak the exit reason so that instead of 5 bars being below the moving average, maybe we only need 5 lows to be below the moving average. Obviously, these tweaks will change the nature of the system and its performance metrics, but this is something you need to be careful of when you're developing a system that uses a sequential candlestick pattern for an exit. So anyway, what's Nick's solution? Trailing stop. Let's ask ChatGPT if it can add that. Can you adapt that script so that if the market closes under 25% below its entry price, the system exits stop loss? Now this should say below the highest price after entering a trade, the system exits stop loss, and make that percentage a user input. Let's see what ChatGPT does with this prompt. All right, it's going to track the highest price. Okay, it's done this in a very convoluted way in my opinion, but I think it'll work. Let's have a look. Again, not perfect, but if it does the job, it saves us time. That's valuable. Okay, we've already got an error. I see what the problem is already. You can't use min val, max val unless you specify what type the input is. So if we put input.int, that should fix that error. There we go. Now it still didn't exit this trade for some reason, because the close has to be below the, let's change this to low and save the code. See if this exits the trade down here. It should do, and it doesn't. Okay, interesting. It should have exited the trade somewhere around here. So something's wrong with this code. Let me add some debug code on the end here to see what's going on. Okay, I see what's happening. Here was a new entry setup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars printed above our upper band. I'm guessing that condition resets our highest price, and it does. So if I change this to say and strategy dot position size equals 0, that should fix that issue. Let's have a look. There we go. Perfect. Fixed it. As you can see, I needed to modify that script slightly. If you didn't know Pine Script quite well, then this might be completely useless to you. If you're not experienced with Pine, this script would not have worked, and you might not have known why. So it's still necessary to understand Pine Script, I think, in order to use ChatGPT and tools like this in your coding process. Now, if this was a simpler script, maybe you'd get away with it. I think ChatGPT is fantastic for spitting out templates, for educating you about concepts maybe relating to Pine Script, but I don't think anything can replace actually learning the language yourself. I don't think this tool should be depended on blindly. I think you still need to invest in your own education as a trader and learn the languages you're going to be using. But ChatGPT can help with that, certainly. Now, in this particular case, the trade still was open for over a year here, and we still took a 7% loss. So I think even Nick would agree that this stop loss is not sufficient. I think a time-based stop would be better. Maybe it only kicks in after X amount of days or X amount of profit. We had a nice profit here of 10%. Maybe once you're in 10% profit, you ratchet up that stop loss a bit more, or you get a little looser on your conditions for exit. Maybe instead of 5 lower closes, you start looking for 5 lower lows, regardless of whether they touch a moving average. The exit reasons you could use and the creativity you can use are kind of endless. But I think this was an interesting overview of what is possible with ChatGPT. Here's a nice trade right here. This system's interesting. I have to admit, this is interesting. I wouldn't mind plugging this into real test and playing around with it on a portfolio-based level. I've been meaning to revisit all the systems in this book and do that. I did that with the Bollinger Band system yesterday and got some decent results. So maybe that's my homework for the next week. But anyway, I think that'll do it for today's video. I don't think I have anything else to say other than ChatGPT is amazing. ChatGPT 4 is a big step up from ChatGPT 3. It talks too much, in my opinion, but that's okay. I think that can be tweaked in the settings, and this is something to keep an eye on as coders, especially, and as traders. This can really help us. It is a very valuable tool. It will not replace the power of the human brain anytime soon. I still think you need to know what you're doing with your trading. ChatGPT is a perfect example of garbage in, garbage out. If you give it bad information to work on, it's going to give you horrible information back. Because even if you give it good information to work on, sometimes it gives you bad information back. So knowing what you're doing is still very important in today's world of trading and coding. But we've got a very valuable tool here to play with. Keep an eye on it in the future. Definitely play around with it. But don't expect it to replace the hard work involved in actually learning what you're doing, learning your tools, learning your trade as a trader, pun intended. With that said, if you want to learn Pine Script and you're new to Pine Script, check out our website. I have a 5 or 6 hour long free basics course there, completely free, no strings attached. If you don't like my teaching style or you don't like Pine Script, you lose nothing by checking that out. If you do like Pine Script, I have a course there teaching you the entire language and everything I know about it, the mastery course. So with that said, go and check that out. Check out this book, link in the pinned comment below. Yeah, good luck with your trading. I love you guys, and I'll speak with you in the next video. Take care.